How's it, everyone? Welcome to another string review right here on OpenCourt. So today I'm reviewing another Ytex string. Ytex makes some of my favorite copolyester string, and today I'm trying a string that I've never heard of prior to starting this channel, and today I'm reviewing the Ytex Pro Tour. Let's check it out. So this Ytex Pro Tour doesn't really get a lot of fanfare. I don't think a lot of people have heard of this. It doesn't really have a whole lot of technologies and bells and whistles behind it. It has something called the low molecular weight technology, which if you can see on this picture here, the cross section, you can see that it's kind of rigid with a coating around it, which this basically means that the inner part of the string is lighter, equaling a little bit softer. So it's going to be more comfortable, easier on the arm. It's probably going to be a little bit more powerful, but it is a traditional round poly. I don't expect it to bite the ball quite as viciously as the Ytex strings, the Quadro Twist, which is one of my favorite polys. But this is supposed to feel nice and crisp. It's supposed to get a nice pop sensation when you strike the ball, and it's supposed to have decent tension maintenance. Also, this string is $9.95, so it's under $10, which makes it a good budget string. So I'm gonna string it up in my Yonex E-Zone here, 98, and I'm gonna take it onto the court. I'm gonna string it at 53 in the mains and 51 in the crosses, and I'll see how this new Ytex Pro Tour plays. So let's start out with the pros of the Ytex Pro Tour. The biggest pro for me personally was the combination of that power and that pop and the depth on all of my shots, which especially combined with my DR98, it led to easy power, and I was able to hit consistently deep on my ground strokes. The serves were the easiest and most fun part of this playtest. Obviously the DR98 has a lot of pop to it, so combined with this soft Pro Tour, I was able to hit some bomb first serves. My flat serves cleared the net at a very high rate. The slice serves were also skidding away from my opponent, and I was able to hit some good pace even on the slice. The spin level is okay, so definitely the flat and the slice serves were better than my kick serves, but I ended up using my slice serve a lot more with this particular setup than I would have with, say, my Speed Pro, which has an 1820. The lower launch angle means that I hit the slice serve into the net a lot. With the Ytex Pro Tour in my DR98 strung around 54 pounds, it barely ever hit the net, and I was able to hit decent pace even on a slice. So I found myself quite often hitting two slice serves, and I found it easy to approach the net after my serve as well, because this string has a lot of put away power at the net as well. The string's response is comfortable, it's soft, but it's not mushy, which worried me before I tried the string. I was worried that the string is going to be very springy, very mushy. It is a little bit springy at times. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it's not mushy at all, like a head lynx, which basically just feels like a rubber band. I like something that's a little bit more stiff, and this string definitely feels in the realm of a Solinco Outlast, where it's a firm but comfortable string, and it definitely provides some decent pop and decent liveliness on a lot of those full swings. The DR98 is a fairly stiff frame, and I think the Ytex Pro Tour did a decent job of curbing some of that stiffness. Stiffness doesn't bother me at all. I don't have arm problems. For those of you who might be worried about it, for example using a pure drive or something, the Pro Tour would be a good complement to that. Like I said earlier, volleys were really great with this string. I was able to get easy pop, easy depth, especially the low volleys when I was following in my serve. The low approach volley is one of the hardest shots in tennis in my opinion, especially if your opponent is attacking returns, and so I appreciate a string that helps me to get that low trajectory over the net to prevent my opponent from cutting it off, but able to get some decent depth where I can put my opponent on the back foot to get into position to put the ball away. Slices didn't stay as low as I want usually, but it definitely had the depth, kind of like those low volleys. And it definitely provided good pace on the ground stroke, so I can't really complain much about that there. The feel was responsive enough. It's definitely not quite as crisp as like a Lynx Tour or a Tour Bite, but it's definitely more crisp than RPM or Vocal Cyclone, which are very muted, very dead. Like I said earlier, this feels a little bit like a Solinco Outlast, or maybe even a Solinco Confidential kind of response. It's somewhere around there. It's crisp and firm enough without being too muted. And lastly, probably the best thing about the Pro Tour objectively for me was that the tension maintenance was great for a softer poly. I played with this about 5 sessions and I honestly didn't feel any tension loss at all, which amazed me. I probably shouldn't be surprised because Ytex is known for having strings that maintain tension very well as being arm friendly, but I was really surprised at how consistently this string held its tension, especially with my aggressive game. I like to take full swings on a lot of shots, and so I'm pretty harsh on my strings, and I honestly did not feel any difference at all through the duration of this playtest, which was a pleasant surprise. Combined with the under $10 price tag, I think this string is a great cost-effective string if you're looking for something that'll last for a very long time. Now getting into the cons of the Pro Tour, there really isn't much save for one. Because it's just a traditional round poly, it doesn't get a whole lot of spin, which is why my kick serves kind of suffered, but that wasn't really a problem at all from a gameplay standpoint because it had enough power and pop where that I could hit 2 slice serves. I was still able to get my serves in at a high percentage and play aggressive. I didn't have to rely on my kick serves to clear the net as often, but if you rely on a heavy spin oriented game, the Pro Tour probably is not going to get enough spin for you. Obviously, Ytex's flagship string, the Quadro Twist, will get you more spin, but I think personally the area that my game suffered the most in terms of the lack of spin was on the returns. When I stepped in and hit an aggressive return, some of my shots landed just a few inches out, which if I was using a string that was helping with more spin, these shots probably would have landed in. So I had to be a little bit more disciplined. I had to make sure I was coming around by my left hip, especially on that aggressive forehand. So a little bit more spin would have been nice. And lastly, it does have a slightly springy response. So my drop volleys especially is where I suffered. My drop volleys were very difficult to drop it over the net. They sometimes popped up a few feet higher than I would have liked. Angle volleys also ended up going wide more often than not. I needed to hit it perfectly, otherwise the springy response would send it wide. So I had to be a little bit more careful there, and I couldn't go for such high risk drop volleys and angle volleys as I usually would like to. So lastly, who is the Ytex Pro Tour for? It's for players who want a soft, arm-friendly poly, but still want that crisp feel for those response-oriented shots. I have seen a lot of softer strings out there. This is by no means the softest, but it definitely does feel on the arm-friendly side. Ytex is known for making arm-friendly polys that also retain their playability and the tension, so I think Pro Tour Ytex knocked it out of the park again. This is a great string. It's only under $10. It has very good tension maintenance for a string under $10 and for its comfort level, so it also provides good durability because it's a round poly. There's less string friction. So if you're looking for a cost-effective poly, if you're on a budget and tension maintenance is one of your categories that you look for the most in a string, the Ytex Pro Tour would be a good choice. So if you're interested in trying this string or many others, go to Ytex and use my discount code KOkamura15 to give Ytex strings a try. Thank you for watching this review of the Ytex Pro Tour string right here on OpenCourt. If you guys are interested in purchasing this string, visit ytex.com and use my discount code KOkamura15 at checkout to get 15% off your entire order. If you guys like this content, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an OpenCourt.